Do you remember the woman's name that we gave the certificate?
Okay, going to get started here. I know there will be more people jumping onto this in the next couple minutes. Welcome everyone to our first quarter 2022 Governor's Workforce Council meeting. I'd like to welcome our new and our existing council members, as well as so many community, government, and business partners. We're really glad to have you all today. And we really want to encourage you to use the chat feature as we go along. If you have any questions or comments, suggestions, we'll do our best to kind of answer them as we go along. The focus of today's meeting is on the launch of the Governor's signature job training and skilling initiative, Career Connect. Career Connect will train and place over 8,000 people in jobs in our highest demand sectors over the next 4 years. Before we proceed, I'd like to provide some additional context for that discussion, as well as review the agenda today. As of January, the state's employment level stood at about 100,000 people below the peak, that pre-pandemic level. So we still have 100,000 people approximately kind of out of work from that time. At the same time, our state has about the same number of job openings. One of the biggest challenges in getting people back to work into high quality jobs is the skills gap. Career Connect will be a major way for Connecticut to close the skills gap. Today, we will hear from 15 leading employers who are collectively committing today to hire 3,000 people coming out of Career Connect over the next few years. Governor Lamont is going to also join us for that part of the meeting. In addition, however, to the skills gap, there are other kind of challenges that people face in getting back to work. And today, Mark Pizzella and Patrick Flaherty from the Department of Labor will share a recent survey that they conducted of unemployed people in our state regarding the barriers to getting back to work. And you'll hear them highlight important issues, and I already see this in the chat line, such as lack of accessible, high quality, affordable childcare, and some of the challenges that people face with benefit cliffs. Sue Figueredo, our DEI chair, will share the work that the DEI committee is doing to address the barriers faced by different marginalized populations. In the last part of the meeting, we're going to have breakout sessions, which you're free to choose which one to attend. One will be led by Sarah Griffin on the recommendations of the 2Gen Council, including benefit cliffs. A recent national study showed that for our lowest income earners going back to work, 91 cents out of every additional dollar earned is lost with loss of benefits. It's like charging our lowest income workers a 91% marginal tax rate. This explains some of the reluctance of people to get back to work, not to mention the high cost of childcare. We're facing a catastrophic childcare challenge in our state that we need to address. One action, by the way, that the Governor's Workforce Council is taking is establishing a business coalition for childcare, being anchored by the CBIA and Chris DiPantima's leadership. A number of people here representing companies have already joined this effort, and we encourage other businesses to join as well. In addition, in the breakout sessions, we will cover clean energy, the regional sector partnerships, and the exciting development of a new technology platform, My Connecticut Journey. Now, I'd like to introduce our first guest speaker, Joe Vargas from Jobs for the Future. Joe leads JFF's work on high school education and career pathways, including dual enrollment. He has worked with other states, including our neighboring state of Rhode Island and North Carolina, to adopt universal dual enrollment in their high school systems. If we are going to grow our talent pipeline in Connecticut, we need to start much earlier in the education process. So we're excited to hear about what Joel's learned around the country. Joel?
Thank you, Mark. Can you hear me okay? Just give a thumbs up. Okay, great. Thanks. Well, thanks for that introduction. I am really delighted and honored to be here with you today at the council meeting. And I want to thank you, Mark, and everyone for inviting me to kick off your meeting by talking about how dual enrollment, which is really broadly defined as when a high school student takes college courses, how that can build stronger pathways for students through post-secondary education and training and into careers. So for those of you not familiar with JFF, I won't spend too much time, but we're a national nonprofit organization. And our mission is to drive change in the American workforce and education systems to achieve economic advancement for all. So we do this, we provide strategic advisory services, we design, test, invest in, and incubate new solutions. We lead networks of innovators to influence and promote change. And we advocate for policies, state and federal level, informed by best practices. My work over the years, including the 12 I spent at our Boston headquarters, and now 7 in Oakland, California, where it's nice and sunny here. You can probably tell from my background. It's really focused on improving the transition of young people, especially those from low income and Black and Latinx backgrounds from high school into rewarding careers. Next slide, please, Laura. Thank you. So there's, needless to say, but I'll say it again anyway, there's a lot of work to do still. And, although there have been some improvements in post-secondary degree and credential completion rates over the past decade, they've really been quite incremental and certainly not at the pace needed to meet the needs of our dynamic economy, which increasingly demands workers with some kind of post-secondary training or education beyond high school. And a big part of the problem is reflected in the stubborn statistics like these in the slide, which show how challenging our systems make it for students to transition into and complete such experiences. So even when they get admitted, many don't show up for the first day. Any little bureaucratic detail of admission can become a huge hurdle for young people who don't have people in their circle who can coach them through it. And too many students drop out after the first year of post-secondary and risk defaulting on loans they increasingly have to take out given the escalating costs of college. So in many respects, we really shouldn't be surprised by these figures, because the high schools and post-secondary institutions we have today and the systems that grew up around them to support them proliferated during the industrial age, at a time when post-secondary credentials were not such a prerequisite for economic success as they are today. Next slide, please. So there's a big part of our work at JFF, I have to admit, that's increasingly impatient, if not a little cranky sometimes. And so while we must improve the systems we have, because they are the systems we have with good professionals in them trying to do good work, we also have to call for and initiate fundamental changes to those systems because so many are outmoded. We recently wrote a white paper to this effect called The Big Blur, an argument for erasing the boundaries between high school, college, and careers and creating one new system that works for everyone. And in that paper, we call for new structures that would better serve 16 to 20-year-old adults. And one way to think about it is as 2 years of college included in high school or 2 years of high school included in college. I hesitate to even use that terminology because, in fact, these structures would be neither high schools nor community colleges, but rather new configurations for all students. And they would be free for students and include pathways and labor market aligned sequences of work-based learning experiences, co-designed with regional employers. And they would culminate in credentials that give young people direct access into the labor market and further post-secondary education. In the paper, we suggest what kind of incentive, structure, governance system, and staffing capacity and preparation would be needed to support these new kinds of institutions better designed for older adolescents and for the future of work. Next slide, please. So, it is a challenge to picture how, as we try to do in the Big Blur, how to design for what the economy needs rather than what we usually do, at least in education. I think in workforce, I think it's fair to say, which is tinker around the edges with a system designed for a bygone era. That said, it is also, we have a responsibility to simultaneously improve the systems we have. And our experience suggests that there is a lot local practitioners and state policymakers, business partners, employers can do to make better do with the systems they have, namely by aligning and integrating key aspects of those systems so that the silos they're in don't cause students to fall through the cracks. And much of our work on the Big Blur vision, in fact, has been informed by practices and policies like those depicted in the slide that are aimed at creating systems of college and career pathways. They combine rigorous academics with career-focused learning, including through career and technical education and experiences at workplaces. Partners across K-12, post-secondary, and workforce boards and local employers create credentials and curricula that are stackable, meaning they allow learners to have off-ramps from education and get strong footing in the labor market in middle-skilled jobs with good wages and benefits, while also having the preparation and credits they need so that they have on-ramps to additional credentials and degrees if they choose to go for that. Next slide, please. One powerful component of those pathways is dual enrollment, to come back to the original topic at hand. I know it's a little counterintuitive, but it turns out that when you accelerate and push students with higher level content earlier than you think they might even be ready for, and you design it with the proper support systems and other specifications, and students are much more successful at starting and finishing post-secondary degrees and credentials. As shown on the slide, this is a summary of findings from rigorous research on dual enrollment from the federal What Works Clearinghouse. And dual enrollment has significant and positive impacts on high school completion, college access and enrollment, and post-secondary completion. What the chart doesn't show, but that's part and parcel of these studies, is a consistent finding that the effects of dual enrollment are just as positive, if not more so, for participants from low income and Black and Latinx backgrounds. And those kind of effects are particularly powerful and impactful when dual enrollment is designed with a focus on populations underserved by our systems, providing preparation, guidance, supplementary support, and financial coverage for tuition fees and books so that the experiences are accessible. They're effective when they're built as part of a structured design pathway. To harken back to my earlier slide about college and career pathway systems, and that they lead to stackable degrees and credentials. And when also they're effective when they're a product of partnerships that engage in this thoughtful design work, including the technical work and bureaucratic weaving, if you will, involved in ensuring that courses and credits transfer between systems is really important. Also that they're qualified instructors from each system to teach the courses, and that students get the experiences and information they need to navigate toward their career goals. So alas, I would say, having said all that, this is not how most dual enrollment is practiced throughout the country, because a lot of state dual enrollment policies and programs were originally designed for gifted and talented students, were structured as an unorganized set of options to be activated by those kinds of students, sometimes leading to what we call random acts of dual enrollment. They didn't require partnerships, if any coordination between systems. And they generally serve small numbers of students who probably, frankly, would have otherwise figured out a path through college on their own. So moreover, in the course of advising several states over the years about how to redesign dual enrollment to be more of an engine for strengthening pathways through post-secondary and into careers, we've sometimes found multiple dual enrollment policies and frameworks operating in the same state, creating a kind of confusing web spun by various grant funded initiatives and or state legislators over the years passing laws to create new programs for unique purposes. And though that they're all well-intentioned, over time, it can make dual enrollment fractured, inconsistent, difficult to understand for families and educators, and opaque to state policymakers, if not vulnerable to elimination, because those policymakers sometimes see it as a duplication of services if the value proposition and stronger results are not clear. So when we advise on policy changes in states, we often start by encouraging state education and workforce system leaders to work with local systems and employers to start start with getting clear on a more unified purpose and a set of pathways for dual enrollment. So North Carolina, Mark mentioned this, we did some work with them long ago. Behind the scenes, they years ago consolidated and revamped its many programs, dual enrollment programs, under a unified vision that promotes dual enrollment as a college and career promise for the state's young people. And as such, the state supports 3 pathways to help advance students post-high school success. One is college transfer pathways that provide tuition-free course credit towards an AA, an AS, and other degrees that will transfer seamlessly into any University of North Carolina system school or participating college or university. Number 2, there's a career and technical education set of pathways that provide tuition-free course credits towards a certificate, diploma, or state or industry recognized workforce credential. And third, there are what they call cooperative innovative high schools, where students can earn tuition-free college credits as a high school student by attending an approved cooperative innovative high school that specifies terms of partnerships between the state's community colleges and local education agencies that develop these whole school approaches for dual enrollment. A few years ago, Rhode Island, just to cite another example, created the Prepare Rhode Island Dual Enrollment Fund in response to the legislature's passage of the Dual Enrollment Equal Opportunity Act. And both focused on how to create more equitable access to dual enrollment geared toward post-secondary completion at its 3 higher education systems. So foundational to implementing that work was for the systems to agree to a set of courses every year in general education and career and technical education that qualified for funding and that established a set of parameters around cost sharing, prerequisites, transferability, and metrics of success. Next slide, please. So just beyond these examples, we at JFF continue to work with other organizations who promote strong and equitable dual enrollment practices nationally. One example is our participation as a founding steering committee member of the College and High School Alliance. A couple of years ago, the Alliance and the Level Up State Collaborative published this publication depicted here, Unlocking Potential, a state policy roadmap for equity and quality in college and high school programs, which includes dual enrollment. I'll leave you today with just some high-level principles from the guide, which can help, we hope, guide adaptation to the unique state context of leaders who would like to try to better harness the potential power of dual enrollment. And as I describe these principles, I guess I would just respectfully ask that you consider the degree to which dual enrollment in Connecticut reflect these realities. One is to focus on equity as a goal and set targets for participation and success and report it to the public. Another is to ensure program integrity and credit transfer, ensure, for example, that the courses taught for college credit to dual enrollees are in every way up to the same expectations and requirements of regular college students. You know, we don't want college light for high schoolers, and make clear to students and families how and where the course credit transfers, if not encouraging or requiring more transferability across state institutions. Third, remove financial barriers that block access to students, especially those from low income backgrounds. You know, we also urge states to take steps to make dual enrollment opportunities accessible to students no matter where they attend high school. This includes encouraging school districts and college partners to develop early preparatory programming for high school students geared toward helping them to meet prerequisite requirements for taking college courses. Finally, we say states should support the capacity of local staff, including instructors from high schools and colleges, to teach courses for college credit through professional development and support to get graduate level credits that qualify high school teachers to teach as college instructors. Also, counselors in K-12 and higher ed need information, support, and tools to help students navigate toward dual enrollment pathways aligned with their career goals. Next slide, please. So no matter how you answered those questions for yourself, and I imagine that you perhaps need more information to answer, as it can be an arcane topic, I'd encourage you to compare notes with each other and with your partners in education and workforce development in your communities. If you think there's room for strengthening dual enrollment to strengthen the cultivation of skilled workers in Connecticut, you have a great opportunity and assets in the state to work with. I'll just name a few. I mean, you know, you have a strong Connecticut State College and University Student Success Center, leading work to promote more guided pathways in your post-secondary system in which dual enrollment can become an integral component. You have strong models like UConn's early college experience, early colleges in parts of the state, and P-TECH that could be coalesced and positioned to inform dual enrollment pathways at greater scale. You have a robust set of regional workforce development boards and a technical education and career system with 17 sites, you know, a graduate of which is currently the U.S. Secretary of Education. So just something to keep in mind. And finally, you have this council and each other, you know, as a group of influential and individual members who can speak to what employers need. It reminds me that some of the more powerful work we've supported is when business, workforce, and education partners take a sector-based approach to the design of college and career pathways, including those that incorporate dual enrollment. It really targets efforts at the state's greatest economic needs, and it provides an appropriate industry-led focal point for pathways design. So I know I said a lot. I want to thank you again for inviting me to share this perspective today. I hope you found it informative. If there are time for questions, there may not be. You have a packed agenda. I'm happy to take one or two. And on behalf of my colleagues at JFF, we just applaud your efforts, leadership, and interest in these set of issues and strategies, and hope we might be able to find other ways to be helpful to you in the future.
Joel, thank you for that very informative presentation and your inspiration. And we are excited to have the Office of Workforce Strategy and the State Department of Education partnering together to kind of launch an effort around pathways and dual enrollment. So we're very excited to get going, even in a bigger way than we've already have in Connecticut. Next, I'd like to introduce our Commissioner of Workforce Development and Director of the Office of Workforce Strategy, Kelly Valeries. Kelly's going to provide us an update on some of the kind of key strategic initiatives that are happening and the Career Connect program. Kelly?
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Joel. You know, just to follow on the heels of Joe's presentation, the governor is very focused, as we know, on workforce strategy and included almost $11 million in his governor's budget for creating dual enrollment programs. And we're very excited to be working with our partners at the Department of Education on pulling those programs together and look to use the Jobs for the Future as a resource for us moving forward. Thank you for that. First, I'd like to introduce our team. I know many of our members are new. We have some new faces who are joining us today, and we have some new members of our team since the last time we met. So all of you probably know Niall Demondo. He's our Chief of Staff. He keeps the wheels on the bus moving forward every day. We appreciate everything that he does for us. A new team member came on board in December, Anthony Barrett. Anthony is the lead of our DEI in strategic partnerships. He's our director. He comes from a long history of working with community-based organizations on DEI issues, and we're very happy to have him on board. Our education and policy consultant, Molly Thomas, is back from a 6-month leave, and we're very happy to have her back and getting back up to speed on the work that we're doing in dual enrollment. Laura Baker, who you've all seen her name everywhere. She's our workforce development specialist, which means she does about everything that needs to be done on our team. We thank you, Laura, for all that you do. Isabel Wexler is a fellow from the Office of the Governor who has been assigned full-time to our team and has really been instrumental in a lot of the initiatives that we've taken on, but more specifically on the Good Jobs Challenge that I'll be sharing in a few moments with you. And I really would like to take this opportunity to thank the Bank of America very much for understanding the need of resources on our team and funding 2 additional positions through the Social Venture Partners. Ben Stang is our new Director of Healthcare Workforce Strategy, and Austin Hutchinson, Hutch, is the new Director of IT Workforce Strategy. And the 2 of them are really taking a very focused approach to our healthcare and our IT strategies for workforce development across the state. So we welcome all of them and thank them for the work that they're doing. So moving on, our office has been extremely focused on these 2 projects. the Career Connect, and the Good Jobs Challenge. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes providing an overview. The Career Connect program is our flagship short-term training program. We were authorized $70 million of ARPA funds in the last legislative session to develop this program. We're really looking to ensure that we are upskilling and reskilling those most affected by the pandemic and those who have been in historically underserved and marginalized communities across the state of Connecticut have an opportunity to participate in meaningful job training programs that provide industry recognized credentials that are attached to jobs at the end. These programs are led by employers, led by their demand, and led by the curriculum and the skill set that they need people to have in order to engage in the jobs that are waiting for them at the end of these programs. Very excitingly, we are building one front door entry to all job training programs in the state of Connecticut through Career Connect. It will be one place where applicants, job seekers, and students can go to find out how to enroll in these training programs. And we're really looking forward to expanding this and building this out across the state. Traditionally, they have to go knock on many different doors and find a program that fits them. So this is a great opportunity for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really getting people from communities that have not historically participated in these types of programs involved. We're doing a lot of partnerships with our community-based organizations. Participants will take a pre-assessment for basic skills, interests, and abilities. They will go through a training program that specifically meets the needs of employers, that they have are fully comfortable, and that's the roadmap that they want to go down. These program participants will receive full supportive services, transportation, childcare, housing, technology, anything that they need to remove the barriers to full participation. And they will earn stipends while they're in there and earn industry recognized credentials. And some of these jobs are being placed in high wage positions up to $50,000 a year. So that range will be from probably $25,000 to $50,000 a year. And we'll be tracking these program participants for 12 quarters post completion. So it's really important for us to understand what's working, what's not working, and what do we need to change. We have a couple additional funding sources through bonding and other opportunities for philanthropy. I'm not going to go into detail with those quite yet, but the governor did propose an additional $15 million to support these programs with additional ARP funds. So we're looking forward to the opportunity to having more programs available for people who are going through these programs. So next, I'd like to just touch bases quickly on the Good Jobs Challenge. If you could skip to the Good Jobs Challenge slide. This is a proposal that we're putting in place today. We just hit the submit button at noon today, and I thank Isabel and the team of people who have really worked on this amazing proposal for $25 million that is going to support our regional sector partnerships. These regional sector partnerships have been stood up as a major initiative of the Governor's Workforce Council's strategic plan. We currently have 8 partnerships across the state of Connecticut, 5 in manufacturing, 2 in IT, 1 in bioscience, and we're onboarding 2 additional in healthcare. These are the place to engage our business leaders in each region, and these regional sector partnerships are informed by their needs, driven by their focus and the things that they need to work on. So we're very excited to be able to continue to support the strengthening of these regional sector partnerships, informing them, supporting them, and then being able to provide additional resources for them. We should know about the grant applications sometime this summer, with funding in the fall. So more to come on that. And once we get that up and ready, we will put the copy of an overview of that on the website for you. Finally, the office is working on updating the modification to the WEO estate plan. The estate plan needs to be written every 4 years. So we're in the biannual year of modification. The current state plan was written and submitted prior to the Governor's Workforce Council strategic plan. And so we are working to ensure that the strategic plan is included in the WIOA state plan, and that we're really working with our partner organizations within state agencies on those points of intersection and collaboration in the full spirit of WIOA. Historically, WIOA has in the state plan been put together is more of a compliance document in how we're doing things. We would like that focus to be expanded to really a strategic approach in how we're developing a comprehensive workforce system with collaboration and cooperation between all of our state agencies, our educational institutions, and our community-based organizations and government institutions. So we're very excited to get this work done. We have hired a contractor to help us who's been very embedded in the system with the workforce boards for the last 20 years or so. And this will be uploaded due on March 15th. This is a quick turnaround project, but we do need to post this modification for public comment. And we will be doing that on our website, and we can incorporate feedback ongoing moving forward. So we're looking forward to this work and then really focusing on a more complete rewrite of this program over the next 2 years, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So from here, I'd like to turn it back over to Mark.
I have a question. Is Governor Lamont here? I'd seen his name. I don't know if he's joined us yet.
I'm his staffer. He's not seated yet. I was
Okay.
just joining.
Okay, I just wanted to know so we could introduce him. Our first employer panel is going to be the manufacturing employer panel. We're very excited to have today leaders of 15 companies that are leading the way with their commitment to building diverse workforces in Connecticut. I'd like to introduce our manufacturing panel. We're joined today by Andrew Bond, the Chief Human Resources Officer of Electric Boat, by Marcia LaFemina, the CEO of Penn Globe, Nicole Russo, the CEO of Microboard, and Molly Kellogg, the CEO of Hubbard Hall. These business leaders are leaders in the 4 manufacturing regional sector partnerships around Connecticut. I also think it's fantastic that we're joined by 3 women CEOs in manufacturing, which just shows you that manufacturing is really an industry of the future for all. I'd like to ask each person to take 3 minutes to answer some specific questions about what are the jobs that you see in greatest demand in your organizations? Which jobs can be filled by people who've completed short-term certificate programs? What your hiring needs and what your hiring commitment can be in relationship to the Career Connect program, and how you're embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion in your employment strategies. I know that's a lot to cover in 3 minutes, but whatever you can say in that would be fantastic. So first, turn to Andrew Bond of Electric Boat. Andrew?
Certainly. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon. As Mark said, I'm the CHRO at Electric Boat, as well as the co-chair of the manufacturing RSP for the Eastern region. I feel like we have a luxury in the Eastern region relative to the manufacturing pipeline initiative that we've had in place since 2016, which I think serves really as the model for our continued success. And what I mean by that is that we've got a demonstrated track record of being able to take people with little to no manufacturing experience, put them through an intense program over a period of, call it 8 to 10 weeks. And as long as they have aptitude and a willingness to work hard, they come out and have a real leg up on just about anyone else that we're able to hire. And it's borne the test of time. Since 2016, we've trained over 2,000 people through this program. That's resulted in over 1,600 hires for Electric Boat. The remainder going to other partners within the initiative. And what we've seen is our retention far surpasses those that haven't been through the program. When I talk about Electric Boat, we're in the midst of a generational opportunity as we're growing and expanding across our business. And we'll be hiring for the foreseeable future, meaning over the next decade plus, as we grow, and that's in all facets of our business. But as I look toward answering your questions, near term, we have a persistent and sustained need for our trades organization. And so those are people like electricians, welders, pipe fitters, machinists, painters, and near term, we're prepared, and I'm very proud of this, to be able to commit to at least 1,000 new employees through this Careers Connect program. And quite frankly, as more people return to the workforce, I think we can easily exceed that because this year alone, we've committed to increasing our trades organization in the Groton shipyard by 700 people this year. And not all of those are candidates to go through a program like this, but many are. And between now and the end of 2030, we need to hire 15,000 people across the organization. So we've got a lot of opportunity here. Relative to diversity, I think that is a cornerstone to our expansion. And I'm really excited by the announcement that we'll take this existing manufacturing pipeline model and expand it to all 5 workforce boards, because that gives us the opportunity not only to broaden the reach for manufacturing across the state through this recognized credential, but for looking more back toward Electric Boat and our suppliers, right? It broadens our geography, and it allows us to tap into some of those underserved populations that are within our recruiting radius, but have not traditionally been within our training radius, which I think is key to establishing the programs that we found to be successful, like what we call Boat for Women, which is a short 6-week program that allows women to come in and see what it's like to go through the various trades. We also have a similar program for veterans. So we're really excited about the work that's being done here under Careers Connect.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you for your amazing hiring commitment. We're really excited about it. Nicole, I'd like to turn to you next. You've been really one of the main leaders in Southwestern Connecticut in manufacturing. Could you share with us kind of what some of Microboard's needs are?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I applaud you all in the state for the initiatives on the workforce, and I'm excited about particularly the regional sector partnerships. I've taken a lead in the Southwest. That's where Microboard processing is located. We've been in Connecticut for 40 years, approximately 135 employees. We build high-tech electronics, things like night vision goggles for our troops. We build the communication system for the Pentagon, various different devices for life-saving and life-changing healthcare, telecom, and defense products. So we are very excited about the future of technology. We recognize that in Southwest Connecticut, the manufacturing workforce is declining. It is getting more difficult for us to find talent. COVID has obviously accelerated that a bit. The training of employees that we need, we are committed to a 10 to 15% growth of employees in the next 18 to 24 months based on what we can see coming from our customers. And that training ranges from entry level, general assembly, just workmanship, reading of work instructions. I will mention English as a second language, which is a concern as we look to that talent pool in the entry level grades, up to advanced hourly folks, engineering, quality, machine technical folks, into management and supervisor levels. We're also hiring buyers, accounting folks, customer service. So the business side, not just the technical side, is equally as important. So we are committed to our growth. We're committed to the RSP model. I applaud again the public-private partnership that the state is seeking to establish. And I look forward to working with the education partners as we roll out curriculums to support our different businesses.
Thank you, Nicole. Next, I'd like to turn to Marcia LaFemina, CEO of Penn Globe, who's been a leader in the South Central Regional Sector Partnership. And I think you're on mute, Marcia.
And I was. Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you or see you again. I'm Marcia LaFemina, president of Penn Globe, an outdoor lighting manufacturer here in North Brantford. Definitely one of the smaller companies on this panel, so bringing a different perspective. But I do believe that because of the engagement with our regional sector partnership, I can speak adequately for our area, and I'll do my best to do that. With the surveys and all that we have done, it was clear that the entry-level machinist folks who could be turned into fabricators in training would be of particular value to this area, along with Megan TIG welders and electrical mechanical assembly. I would think it's safe to say that the immediate job needs that we hear also here in my place is welders, but that's just me personally. But across the board, I think everyone is in the 10, 15, 20% range of expected anticipated hires, increase in hires, and looking forward to how the pipelines can interface to make that all be a reality. Alongside the apprenticeship, clearly, I think that would be critical. We definitely want to explore that more aggressively down here than we have. Me personally, and when we hear again from the group again this week, we are looking for all the soft skills, obviously, that everyone here would normally expect, with the indication that a person is not just looking for a job, and that can be evidenced by either education or life in general, things that have made them problem solvers. So as far as the DEI, this is a very important consideration and conversation going on down here with our workforce board, with our RSP. We're really proud of the work that we are doing. I can say that we are here at our company trying to create, because we're small enough and I don't have to run through a lot of the hurdles that other companies do, trying to run a couple of models these last couple of years to see what in fact might work. One of the first out of the gate with hiring an ex-offender who was actually a copy repair person, and thinking that that kind of linear thinking with some training turned him into a proficient SolidWorks CAD operator, just because it was an opportunity and clearly a change in lifestyle. We're also trying from the women's perspective to be very aggressive. We had the opportunity to take a single mother of color off of the third shift at Walmart and give her a job, and she's now 3 years in as a purchasing agent. To what Nicole was talking about, there's the front of the house that we can also address if we're a little bit more creative. Having a bilingual facility is certainly advantageous to all of us, and whatever we can afford or find to do helps with cross training. And then I just want to mention that here we just launched last month a 25-hour-a-week model for women, which I don't know where that's going to go in the world of other employers, but we're trying it. The idea being that we can take women in particular who have either, because of the pandemic, left the workforce, might come back, want to be there to put their children on a bus, be there when the bus gets back. And then giving a 40 hours worth of work in 25 hours, I can tell you it's been more than impressive, but I just want to say that. But the important thing about it is it eliminates the childcare issue, the stress of it, the finance of it. If we can work within the school parameters, we don't have to look to introduce where's the childcare going to come from for school age children. And it brings the underrepresented female population, which is a completely untapped resource, into our manufacturing workspace. So we're trying a lot of things down here in our region, and we'll look forward to keeping you all posted.
Marcia, thank you very much. And I want to just take a moment before we turn to Maui to welcome Governor Lamont. I understand, Governor, you've joined us.
I have.
Tremendous.
Hey, Mark, Kelly, Niall. Hey, everybody.
we're in the middle of the manufacturing employer panels, where each of the leaders is talking about kind of what opportunities they see from a workforce standpoint in terms of hiring. We're happy to hear that there are kind of opportunities in the thousands of people, in manufacturing, is what we've heard so far. So I will continue on, and I know, Governor, you're going to want to, make some comments, at the end of these panels, as I understand. Right?
Got
Next,
about 20 minutes to be exact.
Okay. So let's kind of make sure we do that. Next, I'd like to introduce Molly Kellogg, who is CEO of Hubbard Hall and also a leader in the Northwest Regional Sector Partnership.
Thank you, Mark. And Governor, I just want to say I'm very impressed I'm new to the governor's workforce board and amazed by what's going on here. And it gives me great hope for the future of Connecticut. Our business has been in Waterbury, Connecticut since before the Civil War, and we're endlessly struggling to figure out how to keep investing and keep business vibrant here. I told Mark earlier that I wasn't sure we fit in manufacturing while we have maybe 10% of our workforce involved in direct manufacturing. Our customers are all in manufacturing. So Andrew's company would be a typical customer. And as we look at our needs in the future, and actually near term, I did a review with our director of HR yesterday. We probably have 7 positions and they're in support of manufacturing. So we're not hiring machinists or currently no sort of entry-level blue-collar jobs, but I need people with technology skills. I need people with math skills. We have an IT coordinator, business analyst, ERP administrator. So all of the areas that support our business as we support manufacturing are where we're looking to dive in and find talent. And I do think that those can come out of stackable credential programs as I'm learning about those. I think about, if I look around at my senior leadership team, I don't know where anybody went to college or if they did. So I'm a big believer in sort of character and experience as being drivers for who we hire and who's successful. So I'm very interested in the work that's being done in education to get the next generation of career-minded people to the workforce even faster. And you asked us to speak about DEI, and I am way behind on our initiatives in the company there. I'm embarrassed to say. I believe that we need to reflect the communities that we operate in, and we don't in any of the white collar jobs. Everybody looks pretty much like me. So as we are looking to hire these positions, it is important for us to do a better job of recruiting diverse candidates, but we certainly aren't there yet.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thank you, Molly. And I want to kind of thank all the manufacturers for your leadership and for your commitments in terms of hiring in Connecticut. Next, we're going to turn to our healthcare employer panel. We are joined today by Jeff Flax, the CEO of Hartford Healthcare, by Melissa Turner, the Chief Human Resources Officer of Yale New Haven Health, by Peter Cordeau, the CEO of Norwalk Hospital representing Nuvance, and by Kathy Szilard, the CEO of Stanford Hospital. So I'd like to turn over to Jeff.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for your leadership, for everything you're doing. Governor, thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today and for your support for these really critical efforts on behalf of all of us. In healthcare, there's a tremendous set of opportunities. The needs in healthcare are more profound now than ever before. We're a substantial portion of the workforce in our state and of the growth opportunities within our state. Our system alone today in Hartford Healthcare has 3,541 open positions. And you'll hear from my colleagues, the impact of the pandemic has been substantial in healthcare, and particularly on our frontline healthcare colleagues who've just been heroic throughout this crisis. But it has created turnover, and it has created different people making different decisions for different reasons. The end result is there's recently been high level of turnover relative to the great retirement, the great resignation. And at the same time, healthcare is transforming and it needs to transform. It's too expensive. It's not accessible. It's not nearly what it needs to be, as it has to become something very different. And because of that, we need different people. We need to reskill people. We need to train for new types of skills. As healthcare moves from being hospital-based to community-based, as it moves to being more and more subspecialized, and it needs to become more away from fee-for-service and start to manage really population health, we have to have different types of people entering our workforce. So we invested $5 million in Quinnipiac University just in the last few weeks, and a major partnership to help build our future workforce. We invested $1.7 million in the University of Hartford in their new health sciences program. We made a significant commitment to Sacred Heart University, building a simulation center there. And we've actually strengthened our academic commitments to UConn. All of these partnerships are predicated on building the future pipeline for our workforce. And at the same time, we need new creativity. We can't solve these problems that we're dealing with today with yesterday's solutions. We have a very unique partnership we started with Hartford Public High School. It's called the Hartford Healthcare Allied Health Pathway. So we've endowed a program within the Hartford Public Schools. We plan to roll this out in Bridgeport next and then across the state. But this is something we did in partnership with Ready CT. And it's right now we have 30 students enrolled. We guarantee these high school students employment during their sophomore and junior year of high school. And then we guarantee them employment post-high school graduation or support for them as they enter the potentially post-high school into college for different types of training. So, I'm a huge proponent on us looking at things very differently. Our organization now has massively increased our educational assistance and our tuition reimbursement programs. And they're really centered on supporting our state colleges and universities and all the schools located here in Connecticut. We've put tuition reimbursement in place. We had 984 more applicants just in the last 4 months with the enhanced benefits. And now we're moving towards student debt assistance, where we're now offering over 4 years removing debt off of all of our graduating nurses. And we have 541 people who just enrolled in that program in the last 60 days. So we have to continue to find new ways to do things. In organizations like ours, we're people dependent, and we can't change healthcare without people with new skills, new capabilities, and who are coming out with the most contemporary training. So the partnership with our state universities and colleges becomes absolutely critical. The relationship with Quinnipiac is exciting. We've committed to hire all of their sophomores and juniors in their health sciences programs, because what we found is more than 50% of the graduates of Quinnipiac were leaving the state. And if we can hire them while they're in state, we can then offer them guaranteed, almost like military service, jobs when they finish college. And then they have the capacity to get their start here. And then it's our job to keep them here, right? And to create an environment that they can flourish and be successful. Our efforts around diversity, equity, inclusion, it's the most important thing we're doing. We've established colleague resource groups, which are really impactful. And we have a whole new way how we both recruit, attract, retain, and orient people. But most importantly, last year alone, and this is a really statistic I'm really proud of, 50.4% of the people we hired last year were non-white within Hartford Healthcare, which is an increase over the prior year of 8.4%. And that's really because of very specific programs we've put in place, community connections that have been established. And we've put internship and fellowship programs in place that are dedicated to minority students. And we retained 100% of the 12 people who served in that capacity. So we're fast tracking leadership programs. We put an executive administrative fellowship program where we're recruiting people who have already had significant industry experience, but not in healthcare, bringing them in where they sit in my CEO cabinet, train them, and then help them immediately emerge into senior executive roles within the organization. And we had 3 graduates who are at vice president level roles who went through that. And then importantly, we partnered with the NAACP in the governor on the Fair Chance program. And we now have 138 people that we've hired through the Fair Chance program, who are just strengthening, the capacity for us to bring people into this organization, to support our efforts around diversity and inclusion, and importantly, to give people a fair chance and a second chance in many instances. And it's been an incredibly successful program. So we're excited. I'm prepared today to make several commitments, Mark. One, we really believe in the Career Connect program, and we're happy to commit to hiring 500 people through that program. But truth be told, we can hire well more than that, because we're really in a position where we need to bring more people. In healthcare, you're going to hear from my peers. There's a tremendous number of very talented, dedicated, incredibly valuable people retiring over the next 5 years. So we have to figure out ways to build the next generation. So we're in a significant hiring mode, and I want Connecticut to be a net importer, not an exporter of talent. And to do that, we got to change the way we work and change the way we're structured. And I'll just speak to my peers as I transition to the other members of the panel. In Connecticut, we were one uniform in this regard, and we have a lot of people who are doing great work. And certainly our efforts across the entire healthcare field, I think, are net going to be very good for the state and to make this a better place to live, work, raise families, and ultimately retire it. So thank you for the opportunity.
Jeff, thank you very much. And I just want to be conscious of time here. So to ask each of the speakers to kind of limit to 3 minutes if possible. Next, we have Melissa Turner, who is the CHRO of Yale New Haven Health, attending in place of Marna today.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. And I will be brief. I think Jeff mentioned many of the similar programs that Yale New Haven Health is also championing. I will tell you that I'm delighted about the opportunity to partner with Career CT, because it sounds like one pathway to bring people in. We have a lot of relationships throughout Connecticut, and we work with the community in a variety of ways. It's very interesting to us as an employer to have concentrated pathways the way that they've been described. So I won't get into too much more about the background, but we all know that there has been, we had probably now more than ever to be creative in our approach. We have recently eliminated our piloting to eliminate the pathway to get the foot in the door for EVS and food service positions by removing the GED and high school diploma requirement, and we will enroll them in a program for that. But we want to meet people where they are and open up those pathways. It has been incredibly successful so far, also involved with some of the same programs that were mentioned, the Million Jobs campaign, and we're very proud of those initiatives. So I would just say that our commitment, we also feel like we can do a lot more, because we also have over 3,500 jobs open in Yale New Haven Health System. So we committed to 750 jobs through a variety of areas, including CNAs and pharmacy techs and home health aides and medical assistants and others. But with that many openings, we can commit to more than that over time as well. And we're delighted to be with the program. I'll pass to the next speaker given time.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Next, we have Kathy Szilard, the CEO of Stanford Hospital.
Mark, good to see you, and to all the panelists, my colleagues here, and nice to see you as well, Governor Lamont. Just like Melissa and Jeff already mentioned, in healthcare, we have seen a huge number of people leaving healthcare post-pandemic, and we are growing simultaneously. So it really exacerbates the really endless need for recruitment and retention of talented staff. And certainly the areas of most acute need are in the critical care areas and imaging and laboratory, but we also see a very large need in those programs that Career Connect really meets the needs of. So looking at clinical assistants and central processing techs and lab assistants, these are programs that we at Stanford Health have had a longstanding history of working with the community colleges and training programs that allow people to enter the healthcare industry rapidly and to get a meaningful job with good benefits and actually a career pathway forward for them to advance to other opportunities. And like Jeff, we are also providing significant tuition reimbursement and really coaching to let people advance within the healthcare industry at a rapid pace. People always ask, what kind of skills are you looking for? Well, obviously, we're looking for the competencies and the capabilities that are in the job descriptions for each of these areas, but we're also looking for people who can communicate and effectively with our patients and will be kind to our patients and have their values that we at Stanford Health hold dear in terms of how our culture is. And we want to make sure that the individuals that enter in through this Career Connect program have further advancement opportunities. I go to every new employee orientation, and there's not one employee who doesn't tell me that they have bigger career aspirations. We had some really great success actually before it was called Career Connect. Post-pandemic, I know the governor was interested in repurposing and helping people in the hospitality industry to get into healthcare. And we took on a number of those individuals through training program, and they're now currently very successful central processing techs, and they have a career pathway forward. So I am a huge believer in this program, and we have made a commitment appropriate for our size. We don't have as many employees as Yale and Hartford, but appropriate for our size, we will make a big commitment. In terms of DEI, we already have a robust program, but just like everyone else, we're learning and evolving every single day and paying attention to make sure that our workplaces really support diversity, equity, and inclusion for all. And we've definitely been very, very focused on that and very focused on making sure that the criteria that we're using to select people for all of our jobs, but in particularly for this Career Connect program, are reflective of the communities that we serve. And so I'm really excited for Stanford to get involved in the program. I can tell you we've already had a great success, and we look forward to future success in the program as well.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Next, Peter Cordell, the CEO of Norwalk Hospital, who will be speaking for all of Nuvance Health. Peter?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Governor. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be here. Certainly, my colleagues have expressed much of the same. So I'll get to the meat and potatoes of Norwalk and Nuvance. We are committing to 150 jobs. At this point, we'd rather underpromise and overdeliver. I think, as Jeff Flack said, there's certainly many more job opportunities with attrition, retirements, et cetera. There's going to be a constant pipeline of needs. Preparing for today, there are at least 18 positions within Nuvance that require a minimal education, going from EVS to certificate education throughout our organization, and well over 150 jobs currently open in those areas. I think we have to look at this in two parallel paths, though. There's an immediate need. So there's certainly the opportunity to train and bring people into the system, but we also have an immediate need here in healthcare. And I think there's a great opportunity for us to make an impact on that. In terms of the skills, I echo Kathy Szilard in the sense that it's the soft skills. They have to be able to communicate. We can't teach nice and we can't teach caring. And if you look at the letters we get from our patients, all too often, not all too often, that's not a bad thing, but the first person they meet, whether that be the valet, the person at the front desk, or the security guard, overwhelmingly get a lion's share of the praise when you have these letters from your patients. So we can't overemphasize that enough. In terms of this group, I believe there's a continuum that we have to, it's not just about entering at the bottom, but we have a continuum of opportunities wherever you land within our systems, that you're going to have the opportunity to move your career through whatever pathway that you choose. And lastly, with the DE&I, and I look at meeting the applicant where they are. It's really up to us to have the flexibility to truly meet them where they are. Going to the centers to get the applicants, help them apply for their job, get them everything they need to apply, because all too often we are our own worst enemy in terms of being barriers to getting these folks to apply. Recently, working with Open Door, I filled 24 EVS positions by able to have assistance with those right there at the front line. The success of this program is going to be what we put into it. So we're committed. I'm greatly involved in the Norwalk community, certainly in New Vance Health. There is great opportunities there. We have a great team in Connecticut in terms of healthcare. Could never be better expressed than how we worked together during COVID. I thank my colleagues. Thank you for having me, and look forward to making this a great success.
I want to thank thank our dynamic healthcare panel for your tremendous commitment to Connecticut and to the work that we're doing here in terms of job training. And we look forward to deeply partnering with you on Career Connect. The next panel that we're going to be having is on information technology. We're going to be joined here by Ryan Oakes, Managing Director of Accenture's Hartford office and the Global Head of Accenture's Public Sector Practice. Ravi Kumar, the President of Infosys, and a member of the Governor's Workforce Council. And Ryan Hoyle, VP at Galaxy Solutions, and a program leader of a program called Outsource to America. So I'm going to call on Ryan Oakes first.
Fantastic. I'll jump right to it. So Accenture is a business that has about 675,000 people around the world, focused in just about every industry, but really centered around technology and business services. We've got a couple thousand people based here in Connecticut. And we are a firm that tends to focus on, as we look at technology needs and as evidenced by our involvement in the regional sector partnerships, we're focused on developing out delivery centers and organizational centers, one of which we certainly hope to base here in Connecticut. It's a model that we've deployed around the country and around the world. So when we talk about particular hiring needs and skills, we've got a broad range of job descriptions and the like, but there's a couple key points that I would make. One is 80% of our jobs no longer have a degree requirement. 80% of our jobs are now skills-based. And we also are one of very few companies, you could all look it up for yourselves today, that publish our DEI plans, our goals, and the progress that we're making across the country and here in Connecticut. It's an incredibly high priority for us. We are very proud of the progress that we've made in that area. And we will expect to continue to see substantial improvement there as we focus on broadening the definition of how we get people into our workforce. When we talk about our commitments to the area, our goal is to identify one or two of the core technology skills. As Mark and I have talked about, we've looked at Microsoft-related skills, Oracle-related skills. Certainly, there's been some interesting developments in the state around AWS and Google. There are others. We're fairly flexible. We're interested in statewide, and we really look forward to being a part of this community, this group, and developing out these centers in the state. So with that, I'll leave my colleagues plenty of time for them to speak as well.
Okay, we're going to take a pause right here. Thank you, Ryan, and ask the governor to kind of share his thoughts on all of this on the Governor's Workforce Council. Governor Lamont?
Hey, thank you, Mark, and hello again, everybody. This is really impressive. I cannot believe your commitment. First of all, to that, healthcare folks, we've been working together hand in glove for a couple of years. We know how incredibly, talk about supply chain, the stress that the nurses have gone through, even most recently during Omicron, and how desperate it was for us to make sure we have the people trained, the backups necessary to get that done. So with that, a special shout out. And I know you guys aren't competitive, but Jeff, you've got a need for 3,000. You committed to 500. Melissa's got a need for 3,000. She's 750. But whatever you think you can do is good by me. Don't get me wrong. And more importantly, we as a state are trying to be there alongside of you. We're providing scholarship support programs, and particularly for faculty and for nursing faculty. And Kelly and the team are trying to do what we can to help the pipeline going forward. And I remember early on during the pandemic, when we had people coming in the hospitals, we were setting people up in hotels because they didn't feel safe going home. The next thing we had to do was set up a daycare and childcare next to each of these hospitals. So I want Merrill Gay, I think I saw him on the screen. We're going to be expanding daycare and childcare. We can't get people back to work. We can't get moms back to work unless we make sure it's easier to get back to work. I'll give you just a snapshot on where we are in COVID. It's remarkable that 5 weeks ago, people were waiting in line 4 or 5 hours to get their rapid test. Today, we're in a very different situation. Overwhelmingly, our people are vaccinated and boosted. We have, yet again, one of the lowest infection rates in the country. Again, thanks to amazing partners that I just described. And that's allowing our economy to ramp up and makes workforce all the more important. By the way, I know one of the guys that helped lead our efforts on behalf of the state of Connecticut when it came to working our way through COVID was Josh Jabal, our outgoing chief operating officer. I see you there, Peter Salovey, because he's now going to be head of innovation over at Yale. So I think Peter feels confident as well that we're rounding the bend. And as you maybe noticed, even in our schools, we're going to give local discretion in terms of masking and as such. And that takes us to the situation where we are economically. Josh is going to be in Yale, and Peter Dinius from Advanced CT and Connecticut Innovations, all down there in New Haven. We have a lot of companies looking at the state of Connecticut, a lot of companies thinking about expanding in the state of Connecticut. And, as Kelly and Niall know all too well, the first question they ask us is workforce. There's a global search for talent, and our job is to make sure they don't have to look any further than Connecticut. And what we've got, Kelly and $100 million over a couple of years, setting up the training programs right now, setting up the certificate programs. Ryan, it was interesting to hear you just say that 80% of the jobs you have don't require a degree, but they require a skill, and that's what we got to think a little more about. What is necessary to get you a good paying job? And sometimes that's 4 years or 2 years or PhD. And sometimes, that's a certificate program. And, Kelly is organizing, dozens and hundreds of these certificate programs across the state. We have partnerships with Amazon Web Services and Google so that, Ravi and Ryan have a good pipeline of people that be able to hire when it comes to coding and IT. And I love that, Peter, your point that you also can't teach nice and you can't teach the ability to communicate. And that does remind me, there's something at heart about a good general education on your way to that amazing certificate. In a nutshell, look, I'm 68 years old. Never in my life have we had tens of thousands of jobs going begging. Some of it because people were hesitant about getting back into the workforce after COVID. A lot of it related to the fact that we are not training people for the jobs that are out there right now. And that's what this workforce team is all about. And from a personal point of view, it's two things. One, that keeps Connecticut competitive. That helps us grow. That helps us make sure that we have job opportunities right here, businesses knowing they can grow and expand. And it also means something to me on a personal basis. This is an opportunity to give a lot of folks a chance that otherwise sometimes don't get a chance in a tougher work environment. This is our chance to lift people up. This is a chance to make sure that they get access to that training that gives them access to a job, that gives them access to an escalator on the way up. I think that's the other amazing opportunity that each and every one of you are working on, is we have an opportunity to lift everybody up. And I always believe, build off your strengths. And right now, Connecticut has some wind to its back. Right now, a lot of people are moving to the state of Connecticut. Our fiscal house in order. Businesses are knocking on our door. But again, workforce is so key to keep that trend going, to keep building on our skills, and to make sure that people get that opportunity. So I appreciate the 274 of you who are on this. I know sometimes these meetings can go on for a while, but it's from the heart. I tell you how important it is. I hear this wherever I go. And, Kelly and team, I'll do anything I can to support you along the way.
Governor, thank you so much for your leadership. You'll be happy to know that just the 15 employers on this panel have committed to roughly 3,000 jobs. So we're well on our way, and obviously there's many employers other than these 15 that are also going to be, part of Career Connect and the programming here. So again, thank you for your support and your leadership on all of this.
Thanks, everybody.
So next, I'd like to kind of go back to our IT panel and ask Ravi Kumar and then Ryan Hoyle to speak.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Governor, for those wonderful remarks. Just to give a broad context about Infosys, we made this announcement of 1,000 jobs in the state of Connecticut a couple of years ago, and that was driven by the governor who asked us to set up a hub in the state of Connecticut. Infosys has 300 plus thousand, roughly around 300,000 employees across the globe. And over the last 4 or 5 years, we have started to establish local hubs in the United States, and Hartford, Connecticut was one of the cities we chose. We are at around 1,090 plus jobs since we made that announcement, gross number of jobs which we added in the state of Connecticut. Interestingly, 200 odd of the jobs we added actually came from out-of-state residents. And one of the strengths of Infosys as a company is to hire from schools and colleges. So we created a feeder from schools and colleges in the state of Connecticut. And in January 2021, going back to what Ryan said earlier, we started this evangelization of hiring without a degree. So we went to community colleges, we went to pools of talent where mid-career shifts are possible. As the governor said, we wanted to create upward social mobility in jobs and get access to jobs. And we partnered with companies like Merit America, Coursera, WazU, and also some of it we internally directly sourced. And we did say that we're going to hire 250 of them from these backgrounds without a degree or from community colleges. We already completed 107 of them we hired so far, and we are on track to hire the balance. We are looking for more people to apply to these jobs because these are radical shift of pathways, radical shift of career streams and industries. This is an unprecedented time. Never before in the history of corporate America, we have the number of jobs available significantly exceeding the number of people available. And we could actually get a lot more people into the workforce, but more importantly, move people between industries to tech jobs. We went over the last 40 years from technology being an enabler to technology being the business for industries. And now technology is core for every business. So that reskilling effort, which we can put to build these feeders from very distinctively different backgrounds, is going to help. What has interestingly happened, and this is ironic, as the pandemic hit, we started to actually move work from other states into the state of Connecticut because we have talent there. So we have 50 large enterprise clients out of the state of Connecticut. 25% of them don't even belong to the state of Connecticut. They actually belong to other states, other adjacent states, and sometimes actually nationally in the US. We have actually got some of those clients catered to from the state of Connecticut. That's an important switch because this is going to be remote work, hybrid work is going to be permanent. So we do believe that we could not just cater to local clients, but we could cater to clients in America from the state of Connecticut, as long as we build these feeders of talent. We did partner with Google for Google certifications. Anybody who has a Google certification, we are happy to interview and select. We extended a partnership to AWS. AWS has a partnership with the state colleges. And anybody who is certified on AWS, we are happy to actually interview and build a pipe for us. And in fact, we are also happy to invest on people who could potentially clear those certifications, hire them ahead of the curve, and then they go through the certification process if need be. So overall, this is a very exciting time, and we are continuing to scale the numbers we already have with the opportunity not just to cater to Connecticut clients, but clients in the Northeast region. We're also excited about the fact that we can build these feeders from schools. Going back to the skills needed, we are a full stack company all the way from business process to technology to infrastructure to cloud, digital, and consulting. We could pretty much hire across the spectrum, but the key message is you don't need to actually be in the business of technology to be hired in technology. As long as you have the aptitude, we measure that aptitude. As long as you have the aspiration to do a tech job, we are happy to invest on training and actually build that capability and then orient you into tech jobs. We have a partnership with the Trinity College locally, where we hire from non-STEM backgrounds. In fact, we have done 10 cohorts with the Trinity College, and that's a national experiment, but we are hoping that people we hire through that program stay back in the state of Connecticut and we contribute locally. So thank you, Mark. I want to hand this back to you so that we have the other colleagues talk about it as well.
Ravi, thank you for your leadership on the Governor's Workforce Council and your strong commitment to the state of Connecticut. Next, I want to introduce Ryan Hoyle. And Ryan's company, GWC, has been involved with some really innovative community-based partnerships in Hartford. Ryan, do you want to kind of share with us some of the work you're doing?
Thanks, Mark, and good afternoon, everyone. I don't think I need to repeat, the business challenge facing IT and business professional services industry. Ravi and the other Ryan have really captured that. But it is my pleasure to lead a division of GWC called Outsource to America. And what Outsource to America is GWC's strategic approach to dealing with the domestic talent shortage that we have. So first and foremost, in our program, in all the cities that we're in Hartford since 2019, Detroit, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Nashville, expanding into Chicago, Miami, and other areas. And it's all driven by the fact that our clients have faced disruption in their technology business and getting work done due to traditional, outsourcing and challenges affecting that model. So Outsource to America is rooted in bringing work back to the United States and identifying individuals here that can help us grow our business and succeed in delivering to our customers. Within that, we have made DE&I and both workforce development of non-traditional talent, those without four-year college degrees in computer science. We make that part of everything we do. And so it shows up in all of our statements of work as a deliverable. And our commitment is succeeded through collaboration with like-minded institutions. And so what that means in Hartford is we brought back very recently 100 positions as part of our service desk practice area. And our recruiting department has been successful at identifying experienced individuals to get that work done. What Outsource to America has then done is made a commitment to leverage that IT spend and partner with the mayor's office, Mayor Luke Bronin's office, and an amazing nonprofit called Girls for Technology. And we have created on-ramps for individuals that do not have a background in tech, but have the attitude, aptitude, drive, and capacity to succeed. And we're training those individuals to be our next generation of service desk professionals. In other cities and other states, that service desk deliverable can be mobile application development, data analysis and big data, software development, quality assurance. So it's limitless. The capability that we can bring to the table in terms of training those individuals, making them successful technologists. And really our vision is a very personal one, that we want to make sure that we change the conversation at people's dinner tables. And that conversation goes from trying to understand how people are going to advance their careers, how people are going to improve lives for their families, and make it one about how they're going to grow their career at Galaxy, how they're going to take these transferable skills that they have, and through really the umbrella of what we call co-opetition, make my life easier, Ravi's life easier, Ryan Oak's life easier, because we make a dent in this talent shortage in the technology space here domestically, and hearing and seeing the efforts that other organizations are doing to create these pathways and create these opportunities make me very confident that one day a program like Outsource to America is not even going to be required. Within our program, we've made a commitment that of the jobs we create, again, for those with the attitude, aptitude, drive to be successful, at least 50% of those individuals will come from underserved and underrepresented communities. Very happy to report we're at about 70% as an organization, but through partnerships like the one with Girls for Technology, where all of our trainee hires will be Hartford City residents and members of underrepresented communities, we have instances where we're batting 100%. And so again, I just think through discussions like this, knowledge share and collaboration, and committees and organizations like this one, it'll make our life a lot easier to make a positive impact on the city of Hartford, making it a great place for everyone to both live, work, and play. And so that's kind of our mantra and our mission. And that's what we're here to make a long-term commitment to. And in terms of scale, Mark, I know we spoke about how many jobs are we looking at. Again, we're already at 80 positions when you look at what's coming in through our partnership with the mayor's office and G4T. We had already made an upfront investment of 25 people that are in that office now. And the growth and scale is limitless because we don't see any challenge, if you will, in getting into major cities like Hartford and finding people who are deserving and willing for opportunities like what we're able to offer.
Great. Ryan, thank you so much. I want to thank our IT panelists, Ravi and both Ryans. We're very excited about Connecticut becoming an IT hub. And the Governor's Workforce Council, the Office of Workforce Strategy, is going to do everything we can to, from a recruiting standpoint and a funding standpoint, to be able to support your efforts. So thank you very much for your leadership in Connecticut on this. Next panel is going to be on infrastructure and clean energy. This is our final employer panel. I want to kind of welcome Letitia Colon de Mejisa, who, I'm sorry if I'm mangling your name, Letitia, the CEO of Energy Efficiency for All. Paul Costello, the JATC Director of IBEW Local 90. Eric Antokel, Director of Workforce Development at Ørsted Wind, one of the large wind power businesses here. And Diane Del Russo, the Eversource Manager of Energy Efficiency. So I'm really excited to kind of open up clean energy as a new focus for the Governor's Workforce Council. Letitia, can you kind of lead the way here?
Sure. Thank you so much, Mark. I'm excited to be here today. And it's really awesome to be on with Diane. I work with her all the time. So, infrastructure is happening. There's all these changes going on all across the nation. And excitingly, in Connecticut, we do have a great system to work on these things. What we don't have is enough trained workers, but we do have a great program in Connecticut. So right now, the real focus has been on issues that occurred related to the pandemic. So when the pandemic started, we did lose about 30% of our workforce. Connecticut is one of the higher level efficiency programs in the state, and we work in line with the Green Bank and the utility programs, but there are also contractors who are not part of that program that just generally work across the state. And the good thing about efficiency and infrastructure jobs is anywhere that you have adults with an A, buildings with a B, you can create careers with a C. we had the honor and privilege of working on this issue alongside our partners. And what happened at Efficiency for All is we realized as a contractor base that there wasn't really a solution out there to solve our problem. So we started building training programs. We were able to partner with the Office of Workforce Strategies and use ARPA dollars to stand up a training program here in our state. Historically, you know, energy efficiency is actually one of the largest job sectors in the United States of America, representing small businesses at 79% of the companies having less than 20 employees each. And the great thing about these careers is you can train for some of those jobs with certifications. So here in the nation, there is a 12% African-American or Black percentage of the workforce, but in Connecticut, we actually only indexed at 6%. And Latinos nationally represent 16% of energy efficiency and clean energy careers. In Connecticut, those represented 11%. So we were a little under indexed on the diversity and inclusion perspective. So the program we stood up really sought to solve that problem. We partnered with contractors that were female, minority, or veteran owned, and we were able to work through the entire state to get participants into the program. They had 6 weeks of classroom training and then 6 weeks of on-the-job training at those contractors through the Energize Connecticut program. These folks received essential prosperity planning and skill building prior to the technical skills. They included things like life planning, budgeting, sustainability, car ownership, time management, customer service classes, as well as overviews of clean energy careers in general and the intersection between our health, wealth, and energy systems. After that, the participants had building analyst and envelope, duck training, healthy home evaluator, the DOE renovator, the lead classes, and all of the things really required to work in the Energize Connecticut program. Luckily, we had a really great outcome, high-level results with 100% completion rate for all 15 participants, 100% placement in careers, and 4 months later, these folks are earning $15 to $25 an hour. So I mean, it's been a really awesome, invigorating opportunity to work with the Office of Workforce Strategies and with our other partners. In fact, we've had new folks contacting us from Waterbury, New Haven, the Green Building Council, and others really seeking to broaden this program statewide. In the past, we've run similar programs, and some of those folks actually are now trainers in our program. So some of the trainers and mentors in our program went through this course themselves 10 years ago, which I think is really exciting and was really beneficial to the participants. We also offered wraparound services through this program, such as helping people obtain driver's licenses, helping them find appropriate childcare, and we're really looking to bring that forward as we continue the work. And hopefully I'll have an opportunity to answer some questions later. I know that we're a little behind schedule and we have other speakers that want to participate as well. So I don't want to go on too long, but I did drop some links in the chat if people are interested in learning about the program or know people who are looking for work, because we're going to be starting up again soon. And we would love to get people to work in the Energize Connecticut program. Thank you.
Fantastic. Let's thank you so much, Letitia. Since we're talking about energy efficiency, why don't we next call on Diane from Eversource.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Letitia. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm Diane Del Rosso. I'm Eversource's residential energy efficiency manager. And I'm going to do my best to also represent the energy efficiency industry today. And thank you, Letitia, for the hard work that you've been doing. The energy efficiency programs offer commercial and industrial and residential customer incentives to install high efficiency equipment and services. There are several program offerings where Eversource contracts directly with private industry contractors, much like Letitia described. And our other program offerings work within the current free market contractor network. So the energy efficiency industry needs several types of workers, and that could be educated through either technical programs, certificates, or current licensure programs. I'm going to focus only on 3, but it's not an all-inclusive list, much like everybody else is talking about here today. So the first group was what Letitia has talked about, the energy efficiency home services technicians. These workers need whole home weatherization technical credentials for providing energy saving services that include air sealing, duct sealing, and insulation. We also need HVAC technicians. These workers help customers to understand and install high efficiency heating, cooling, water heating equipment, and building controls. And the third group I'm going to talk about is electricians. These workers are needed to upgrade the electrical infrastructures in our homes and businesses, including municipal buildings, in order to install the high efficiency equipment that includes heat pump water heaters, solar panels, electric vehicle chargers, battery storage, lighting controls, and high efficiency appliances. So Eversource is interested in providing financial support for training recruits for these technical trades that energy efficiency requires now and will continue well into the future, because we need to meet Connecticut's climate goals. Currently, the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection is working to hire its diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant that will also work with the Energy Efficiency Board and the utility companies to engage Connecticut's residents, both with the services that we are providing and with these career opportunities. So as we consider expanding workforce to meet clean energy and energy efficiency needs, we need to consider innovative recruiting strategies. We need increased wages to mirror the needs of the industry and the state goals. And we need to expand the training access, considering our DEI goals. And that would be locations throughout Connecticut, focusing on distressed and environmental justice communities. We do need those wraparound services, as Letitia talked about and others have talked about as well, to support retention in the energy efficiency industry. We need to consider transportation, both short-term for training needs and long-term for employment. And also, of course, childcare and elder care to provide flexibility to complete trainings and enter the workforce. And those are just a few of some of the things that, that will help people be trained in the energy efficiency industry. And in conclusion, I want to thank Governor Lamont and the Governor's Council for the opportunity to share the perspective of the energy efficiency industry.
Thank you,
Mark.
Diane. Next, I'd like to call on Paul Costello.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mark. And thank you for the opportunity to present and be part of the work group. It's my honor. So with the building trades, we're looking to take in approximately 450 to 500 new apprentices over the next couple of years. The trades have definitely changed and had to adapt to the changes with technology, work methods, building materials, and things like that as well. And it's difficult trying to recruit, to be quite honest. We've seen years where I represent not only the electricians, but also the training coordinators for all the building trades. But just on a local level, we've gone down as low as 150 applicants. Over the last couple of years ago, we are starting to see where guidance counselors are now getting educated on careers in construction. It was nice to see we're back up to 300 applicants for my program and many of our other programs. And one of the methods that we're trying to outreach is not only working with our Connecticut VOTEC system, which is a great funnel program to all the trades, but also get into the traditional schools. It's difficult to do job shadowing on construction sites in most cases. So what we're doing is we're opening up our training centers and bringing in students there to duplicate what they would be seeing on a construction site in many cases. Programs that we work with that are great funnels is Building Pathways Connecticut, serving a lot of the underserved communities. We work bringing in veterans through Helmets to Hard Hats, introducing them into construction careers, and many of them, it's an easy transition from their military experience. That's been a great program as well for the trades. One of the other resources that we're trying to introduce at a younger age is bringing in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and having career construction days for them, introducing them to all the construction opportunities that they could have down the road. Green career paths, as other speakers have mentioned, definitely with solar photovoltaics, just the infrastructure, heavy highway, the work coming out there. And then as well as the electrification for the electric vehicles with the grid and the demand that's going to put on it. Not only within construction, we also try to, because we realize that might not be for everyone, but there are other opportunities just within the contractor's office, with the IT departments, building AutoCAD, modeling. So we're trying to educate other career paths as well within that. And as far as the diversity and equity, again, working with all different city groups, trying to get out to church organizations to let them understand the opportunities that are out there.
Great. Paul, thank you so much. Next, we'd like to hear about kind of the wind energy situation. We know that it's coming on strong, Eric. Could you give us a little bit of perspective on it?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark, and thank you to the entire council and the governor, and thank you to my co-panelists here. It's an honor. So yes, as you said, Mark, offshore wind industry is definitely picking up speed. I do just want to remark more generally on kind of the theme that I heard running throughout the other remarks here, is that clean energy jobs are trade jobs. And I think that is an under-discussed sort of motif throughout the workforce development world, and folks who are interested in getting more people career paths that mean something, not just for their bank accounts, but also for the planet. So I think, there's obviously been a lot of under-resourcing and stigmatization of trade careers, over the last, number of decades. And I think, part of the effort to kind of fight back against that is to talk about trade careers as part of the movement for cleaner energy, safer environments, and a healthier future. So I really kind of applaud my fellow panelists for all hitting on that. Specifically at Ørsted here, we are a huge believer in the power of clean energy as a job creator. We are working to make upgrades to the New London State Pier, so that we can progress towards the construction scope for a number of different components of offshore wind infrastructure of the turbines themselves. We will be doing that under a project labor agreement with the Connecticut Building Trades. Local 90 included, of course. And so there's obviously, incredible opportunity through the apprenticeship programs of the building trades to make that an engine, not just for great job growth, but equitable job growth. As an aside, I come from a background of pre-apprenticeship and construction workforce diversity, primarily in New York City, but also, the general kind of East Coast. I'm happy to kind of talk, particulars and details on how exactly that works. But essentially by supporting and funding and providing technical assistance to pre-apprenticeship programs that are able to reach the communities that have been disproportionately underserved, both in terms of environmental services, education, housing, all of that, so that those opportunities to get into amazing careers like those in the building trades through their apprenticeship programs can be accessed by those folks. So we definitely look forward to working together to provide those pathways and augment those pathways. In addition, there will also be offshore wind operations and maintenance career paths once turbines are sort of put out under a Connecticut-based agreement. So those are great career paths that are sort of more permanent, and they essentially would be looking for someone with an electrical background or mechanical background. I'm happy to talk more specifically kind of about what those careers would look like. I think they're probably more relevant once an offshore wind project gets going for Connecticut specifically, and then. This is essentially sort of a parallel industry to power generation in Connecticut and other states that requires all of the jobs that then are associated with that. So everything from engineering to procurement to project management, obviously marine biodiversity, construction management, all of the jobs that are associated with utilities are also going to be associated with this career path or with this industry rather. So definitely, excited to sort support the efforts of the council and Connecticut more generally to infuse some equity into the job growth there. And I've been with Orsted just under 2 months now, and it's really it's been really striking to me to see how focused they are on supporting both local communities where they will be supporting the power generation, but also doing it in an equitable and fair way. So with that, I will leave it there for questions. Thank you all.
Eric, thank you. Welcome to Connecticut. And thank you to the panelists. We're very excited about the job opportunities in infrastructure and clean energy. We're going to do a little bit of a change in the agenda here. We're going to skip the break due to time. And we're going to jump back to Kelly, who will basically explain to us the recommended committees structure for the Governor's Workforce Council. And then what we're going to be doing is doing a roll call of council members to both vote on the minutes from our last meeting, as well as to vote on this proposed committee structure. So Kelly, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Mark, and thank you so much to all of our wonderful speakers and our industry partners today. We can't do it without our industry partners and without the commitments that they make, not only to just hiring people, but really getting involved upfront as to what they need and helping inform how we can build those pipelines to supply the people that they need in their industries. And if we could switch to the next page, I wanted to share with you a little bit of the restructuring that we've done on the Governor's Workforce Council committees and shifting some of the way that we're doing some of this work. And we're very excited about this. I mean, we've been working for the last year and a half on the implementation of the strategic plan. And during that time, we're always focused on continuous improvement. What can we do better, more efficiently to get more people engaged to move the work forward? And we're very excited. As you see, we were able to expand our team. We have a couple new team members coming on board that will be funded through ARPA dollars to help support Career Connect. And hopefully when we get the Good Jobs Challenge, we'll have additional resources coming on to do that. So you'll see that this looks a little bit different than the structures that we've provided to you in the past. And I'm going to very briefly, you've heard a lot of talking, just give you the highlight of each one of these. As I mentioned, business leadership is at the center of everything that we do in the conversations that we do to inform what is needed to get people upskilled, reskilled, and back to work. So our regional sector partnerships is a convening of that place where we are letting them be the center stage of that work and that conversation, and making sure that we have the ability to utilize them as an advisory board. And they are making a strong commitment to skills-based hiring, quality jobs, meeting people where they're at. I think a common theme that you heard today is we need to think about how we hire people and how we engage people to hire them, and how we work with them once they are onboarded differently. The paradigm has switched, and people are looking more for a work-life balance, for that flexibility and that ability to be able to fully engage, but yet take care of themselves and their families in a way that we have never seen before. So we appreciate the commitment of our business leaders to understand that. And that is really focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And with that, we stood up and you all voted to approve that new committee in the beginning of at the end of last year. And we've onboarded Anthony Barrett to lead that work with us. There was a lot of comments today from our employers about how do we engage people who have been underrepresented in our businesses. And this committee is really the place to do that. In the short time that this committee has been operational, we have over 70 community-based organizations and businesses who are fully engaged in the work of these subcommittees on reentry, veterans, people with disabilities, youth, the BIPOC plus communities. And we're going to hear from Sue Figurino in a few minutes on really the work that's being done there. But that is a central focus to everything that we're doing here in the state. around getting people back to work and focusing on those people who have been disconnected from this work. And in order to do that, we understand that we have to remove those barriers. So there was a lot of comments in the chat around childcare and the desperate state that our childcare system is in the state of Connecticut. So we've renamed our Equity and Access Committee to Access to Employment, really focused on how do we remove those systematic barriers that keep people out of the workforce. That is childcare, transportation, and benefits cliffs, and getting people connected to the AJ system and being supported through the process, right? So we are partnering with the Lieutenant Governor's Council for Women and Girls on early childhood education and childcare, along with the Office of Early Childhood. And there's a robust group of businesses and other stakeholders engaged in that conversation around how do we address the childcare shortages in the state. Our sector-based training programs under Career Connect will provide the opportunity for people to be reimbursed for their childcare costs and to help people find childcare while they're in these training programs and into employment. So a lot of work has been done, but a lot of work continues to be done. And if anybody is interested in any of these committees and you haven't already been engaged, please shoot a message in the text or an email to our email address at gwc.ct.gov and let us know what you're interested in here. The regional sector partnerships, or the sector-based training has also been taken out of the subcategory of career and education building and put into its separate committee, because we have all of these resources coming, more to become, that's really focused on the short term, getting people back to work and improving our overall system to ensuring people have access to these types of training programs, which include, again, those wraparound services of childcare, transportation, technology, and making sure that they get these employability skills that is necessary to fully engage. We are focusing our education and career committee on creating the pathways in the dual enrollment programs. We're very excited about our partnership with the State Department of Ed, the community college system, and our private educational institutions, building out robust career pathway programs that have dual credit, dual enrollment, and provide industry recognized credentials so that all students have the ability to complete school and engage in meaningful work. And then, we've moved our data and performance committee as an oversight committee of everything that we're doing, and then continue to focus on those initiatives of building the career registry, building the My Connecticut journey. And if any of you are interested, I recommend you go and see some of the work that's been done there in the breakout session, and making sure that we're really being accountable and developing those dashboards and standard evaluation frameworks for the work we're doing. Today, we're going to need a vote from our council members on standing up this new WIOA steering committee. I mentioned this earlier when we first got on, that we need to rewrite our state plan, and we want to make sure that we have broad voices in ensuring that that statewide plan is strategic and includes initiatives that we have here, and is flexible to provide us the ability to expand and shift as industry and economic data require us to do, to be flexible and to continuously improve. So today we're going to be looking for a vote on this new structure, including the standing up of the WIOA. And then secondly, if we could skip to the next slide for a moment, we have an expanded workforce council that was codified through legislation. We've doubled the size of our council. We welcome all of our new council members. We're looking forward to reaching out to you and ensuring that you get on those committees that are of most interest to you. All of you are listed in green here. We are looking for a few more to round out the 51 on the committee. But we're going to be using this slide not only to welcome all of you, but as a roll call. So Mark is going to be roll calling for attendance, for the meeting minutes, for the new council committees, and for the codification of the new expanded council members. So we'll ask that you, when you're called upon in the roll call, to say yay to all three of those, or state any nays specifically to what you have concerns about. So I'm going to hand it back over to Mark, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Kelly. I was going to ask for the minutes and the committee structure. Is there another thing I just missed?
I think you are right, Mark. I don't think we
Okay.
need to do the composition of.
Okay, so say we're going to do the minutes, and the first yes or no is for approving the minutes, and the second is the committee structure. And I'm just going to call on people alphabetically by first name. Alexis Gavanter, are you here?
I'm Mark. We need a motion to vote. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. We need a motion to approve the minutes, first of all.
Motion moved.
We need a second.
Motion
Second.
second.
Okay. And then on the committee structure, we need a motion to approve the committee structure.
Motion moved.
Second.
And second, who is the second?
Andrew
Sue?
Bond.
Oh, Andrew Bond.
Andrew.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we're now going to go through the roll call. Alexis Gavanter, are you here? Amy Porter?
I am
Commissioner
here.
Porter?
Yep, I'm here and I vote yes to both.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Agawabi?
Radenka, are you here?
Or Merrick, actually. I mean, the new Yukon, what's this? Yukon president.
If you're a designee, just let us know that you're a
Yes,
designee.
I'm here. Radenka is here.
Okay. And your vote?
And sorry, it's no longer Andy Agunobi, so if you can change.
Right.
So I'm now interim president.
Very good. Thank you and welcome to the council. Could you give us your vote on those two matters?
Yes, I can.
Yes, yes on both?
Yes, on board.
Okay, thank you. Andrew Bond?
Yes on both.
Okay. George Anderson for Synchrony?
Hi there, Mark and Kelly. Yes on both.
Thank you, George. Is Commissioner Russell Tucker here? Or Desi Nesmith? DC?
This is Keith Norton for Commissioner Russell Tucker. Yes on both.
Thank you, Keith. Chris D. Penteman? Cindy Bigelow?
Cindy Bigelow here. Yes, on both.
Thank you. DC Commissioner, DC Mark Pizzella for Commissioner Bartomeu.
Yes to both.
Okay. Commissioner Lehman. Ed Hawthorne.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Erica Smith. Marty Guay.
Yes on both.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
Jeff Flax or his representative. Peter Cordeau for Nuvance.
Yes to both.
Thank you, Peter. Joseph Gianni or Bill Thomas for Bank of America. Judy Olean.
Yes to both.
Thank you, Judy. Kathy Szilard.
Yes to both.
Thank you, Kathy. Kelly. Kelly Valeries.
Yes to both.
Thank you, Kelly. Carrie Hona. Dr. Torres Rodriguez. Leticia Colan de Mayas.
I approve both. Thank you.
Thank you, Leticia. Maggie Hulse.
As Maggie's designee, yes to both.
Thank you. I vote yes to both. Melissa for Marna Borgstrom.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Michelle James. Molly Kellogg.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Medette Ferguson.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Neil O'Leary.
Yes to both. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Paul Costello.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Peter Nystrom, Mayor Nystrom.
Yes to both.
Thank you. President Salve.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Jeff Walker for Ravi Kumar. Ray Pinault. Rohan Freeman. Sal Menzo.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Senator Haskell. Shane Eddy.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Sharon Barr. Shelley Davis.
Yes to both.
Thank you. Sue Figueredo.
Yes to both.
Surya Kant. Terrence Chung or Alice. Tiana Ocasio.
Yes to both.
Thank you. And Representative Walker.
Yeah. Yes to both.
Thank you, Representative Walker.
Mr.
Want to thank everybody for that. And next, we're going to change order. Call on Sue Figueredo to give us an update on the DEI committee.
Thanks, Mark. You're keeping us on our toes. So I know we're pressed for time, and having listened into the last few hours, I think Kelly hit on it a little bit. We heard a lot of our colleagues from Jeff and Molly, Melissa, many speak about the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in all that we do. And it's the best when we can hear our colleagues around the state who are taking leadership positions speak about that importance. So I don't want to take up too much of our time, but certainly wanted to take a moment to share on behalf of Jay, myself, the Office of Workforce Strategy, and the full committee, the great work that's been accomplished, and how we always say we are very pleased with what we've done, but we are incredibly dissatisfied because we have so much more to do. But on the pleased with what we've done side, there really is quite a bit that we have done. So I think you heard Kelly talk about Anthony Barrett, who has joined the team as a permanent role, really focused on ensuring that the Office of Workforce Strategy has even more resource to commit to not only the advisors, but to really make sure that equity remains a key pillar in all of the state's initiatives. From a community member engagement, it's incredibly important for us that the voice of our members be really resonant and heard in all that we do. And so the only way we can do that is to make sure that we have them in our work. And so we're very appreciative that we've secured some funding from a consortium of nonprofits, and we've worked on a framework. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. We've obviously already heard today, Mark and team, a lot around Career Connect. So certainly we are incredibly fortunate to be part of that, and using the DE&I committee's networks. The Office of Workforce Strategy has been able to hold some sessions to socialize this opportunity, and we're hopeful that we're going to be able to continue to leverage this and other efforts to really reach our historically marginalized communities. We are planning to leverage a subset of our DEI advisory members who are not applying for Career Connect to act as application reviewers. So ensuring that we're providing that unique and vital DEI angle in everything we do, including the assessment of the applications. And from a collaboration perspective, I can share that all of the subgroups have been meeting on a regular basis, really bringing a group of like minds together, pushing and pulling on one another, and really making sure that we stay centered on the important work that we have to ensure that we are being inclusive of our underserved populations. So a lot of really great work being done there. We move to the next slide. So we wanted to take a moment just to talk a little bit about our community members and the member participants. You heard me say that we want to make sure that their voice is clear and very consistently heard. And so we've done that with a number of steps already. We have a fiscal agency, so we want to thank the United Way of Western Connecticut for their support in that. And we have 5 agencies that have already made commitments. And we also want to make sure that we're focused on payment and time allocation. So each community member will have a payment allocation. We're going to make sure that we cap it at an amount that does not put them in a situation to have to report income. We'll be finalizing those allocations in the coming weeks. We also want to make sure that our paid community members are responsible for meeting attendance requirements. And in order to be flexible, recognizing that their availability may be different than our availability, we are going to be recording versions that would be made available for either a committee member or a community member to listen to. So again, really trying to think differently and be more inclusive in not only what we do, but how we do it. So from a next steps, we've still got a lot of work to do. And Kelly, I know I didn't do full justice to all the great work, but I definitely want to make sure we yield the time to the remaining agenda topics. We have a lot of work in front of us. So the subgroups will complete their charters, which will really align, and eventually we'll be able to share what our short-term, midterm, and long-term objectives for each of the subgroups will be. We know it's really important that we get some short-term wins to show momentum and to demonstrate our commitment, but we know that much of the work we have to do is not a short-term solution, so it will require more time. The Office of Workforce Strategy will also be working to improve the linkage between the DE&I committee and all of the other GWC committees. So Jay and I will be attending at least one of the meetings of the of the other committees to really make sure that we're offering our perspective around DE&I really being ingrained in all that we do and not just a separate committee that sits on its own. After we get our charters done and our subcommittees are moving, we'll find ways to inculcate that in each of the other committees rather than just having us attend. But we'll start there so that we can share learnings across committees, offer perspectives, and more importantly, connect resources with our subcommittees to the other committees. And then obviously the Office of Workforce Strategy will continue to tap our committee as a resource to help with existing and new initiatives, to ensure, as we said, that we'd be reviewers of applications for Career Connect, and in any other way that we can ensure that we're bringing our resources forward. And we are very excited to be part of the Good Jobs Challenge and certainly strengthening the sectoral partnership initiative. So lots on our plate, lots that we've done, lots more to do for sure.
Sue, thank you very much for that great update. I'm going to apologize to our Department of Labor colleagues because we are running short on time. We will have them back. Mark and Patrick, can we do this in 5 minutes?
I will leave that up to Patrick. I do think it's relevant to the conversation we've been having, but I also don't want to shortchange it either because there's a lot of very good information in this survey.
Yeah. So what's your preference in terms of, do you want to come back and do this kind of, at our next meeting?
I think we would love to hear what Department of Labor has to say because it is very well connected into the conversation that we're having today.
Okay.
So we might just take a few minutes out of the breakout session.
Okay, great. Mark, I'd like to introduce Mark Pizzello, the DC of Labor, and Patrick Flaherty, the Director of Economic Research.
Great, thank you, Mark. Appreciate it, and thank you, Kelly. We do appreciate having some time. We'll try to make it quick. Just wanted to introduce. This survey was initiated by us based on our awareness of a survey that the state of Maine did, and specifically, it was related to a lot of the speculation and concern that everybody was sharing related to labor force participation, and it gets to the heart of what was keeping people from returning to the labor force, or for those who were having to leave the labor force, what was causing some of those concerns, including concerns related to supports and other benefits that they may lose due to their labor force participation. So I'm going to turn it over to Patrick to go through the details of the survey.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Very happy to be here. My contact information is in the slides, so certainly feel free, anyone, to contact me about the slides that I'm not going to be discussing because of time. We did do a survey of claimants, former claimants, and job seekers, asking about barriers to employment. As you can see, the lack of opportunities that match my skill set was the #1 reason, and a related reason was lack of relevant job opportunities in the area. And I think that some of this has to do with skills. I think some of this has to do with, I'm an economist, but I'll use a non-economic term, which is imagination, which is, I think that there are people who have skills that could take some of the thousands of job openings that were discussed earlier in this meeting, who just don't see themselves in those roles. And I think that part of our responsibility is try to help people think about new careers and new things they can do. And very heartened to hear from the employers here today, and hope more employers have the same attitude in terms of more open-mindedness of what their next employee is going to look like, and what kind of experience and skills that particular employee is going to have. Because I do think that there are people out there who don't imagine themselves taking any of the jobs that are currently open. And I think, sadly, there are some employers, not the ones here today, who have a very narrow view of what their next employee should be like. And I think that both sides need to have a greater imagination in terms of that. And I think that our survey shows that. Another issue that was raised in the survey, of course, is insufficient wages, insufficient benefits. And I think that Mark discussed earlier in the meeting about the concerns around the benefits cliff. I think that when we see folks that say the insufficient wages to cover my expenses, perhaps their expenses are currently being covered right now by a program where those incomes would be in jeopardy if they were to take a low-paying job. And so I do think that is something that we need to consider. Childcare, came in very low overall, but I would note that 16% of women aged 25 to 44 did mention that as a barrier to employment. And if you look at the chart that I had to skip, you'll see that that is the population where we have seen the largest drop in labor force participation in the last 2 years. So women in that age group who are saying that childcare is a barrier are also the ones that are most likely to have left the labor force in the last 2 years. So that is an opportunity for us to try to bring some of those folks back. Finally, I would just note that a quarter of successful job seekers has reported to us that they had switched careers or industries. And I do believe that that number could be pushed higher. I think there are people out there who, again, with the right training, and training was obviously mentioned as something that support that was being looked for by some of these job seekers, the training to help them switch careers. I think that to fill the concerns that we've been discussing today, the large number of job openings, and yet the number of people that are still not re-engaged in the labor force since the pandemic, they're not necessarily going to take the same job they had before. They need to have an imagination to think about a new kind of career. But we also have to think about providing them the training and the access to the training so that they can switch careers, switch industries, as some of their counterparts have been as successfully done. So I will stop there, but I will again welcome anyone to contact the Office of Research at the Labor Department if you have questions about any of the slides that I skipped, or would like the full document that we prepared with regard to the survey. And I don't know if there's time for questions or what the next step is. I could go on and on and on. People who know me know I can blah, blah, blah for hours and hours, but I will not do that today. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your meeting.
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you, Mark. We're going to change our agenda plan a little bit here. Instead of doing the breakout sessions today, we're going to send out the materials and then kind of schedule some lunch and learns with on those topics, and instead use the remaining time for any kind of Q&A, any questions that people have on Career Connect or our friends with the Department of Labor or on any other topics. So love to just kind of open it for questions or comments. And if you put your kind of raised hand, we'll be happy to recognize you. Okay.
Monette, looks like you're up first.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment. I'm happy to be a part of this group. We've done a lot of good work over a very difficult time for the entire country, but I know the issue of childcare keeps percolating and coming up. And I just want to remind folks that if you have insights or ideas, or you just want to learn more, push that agenda forward. If you could join the work group that has already been put together. Cindy Bigelow and I co-chair that work group, and we have done some great work, some background work with the help of SVP and some of those experts in that area. And OEC has been amazing. Big shout out to Beth Bai and her crew, but also thinking about the providers like myself who are also on that work group, and thinking about the voice of parents and also folks, consumers, who are coming against some of the barriers that we're talking about today. So childcare has not been forgotten. It is not an afterthought. It is not an underthought. It is something that is being braided into the resolutions that we're trying to develop across the board. Thank you.
Manette, thank you very much for your comments. And thank you also to Meryl and others in the chat line who have really raised this issue. We do believe that childcare is a workforce issue. And if you look at the data in terms of kind of, the number of women returning to the workforce, you just see that the lack of accessibility, affordability of childcare is kind of a really big factor. And that's kind of why we're focusing on it very hard. Other questions, comments?
I think since we have a couple minutes, and I think the information that Patrick was sharing was so important, and we got a lot of comments in the chat. Patrick, not to put you on the spot, but maybe you could go back and make a few additional points to the work that you were doing. And I do see we do have a couple additional hands up too. We have Genevieve Walker and Earl Bloodworth. Genevieve, maybe you can go first.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, I just wanted to also lift up, whereas childcare certainly is a main concern, a lot of the opportunities that we even heard shared with us today in the different sectors, transportation is a major concern. As I sit in New Haven, folks being able to get to where some of these manufacturing opportunities are. These are things where the barrier is transportation. And I don't know exactly how we tackle that, but it certainly has to stay high on our radar in terms of folks from metropolitan areas like New Haven being able to get out to these other opportunities that do not require a college degree. So I just want to make sure that that stays on the radar. I don't have a solution to offer, but I know that there's a think tank of folks that can put something together that helps the population.
I'm wondering, Niall, do you want to talk at all about transportation?
Yeah, I'm happy to provide a quick overview. So the Office of Workforce Strategy was allotted or authorized a $40 million bonding pool of funds in the last legislative session. We are in the works of developing a transportation fund in Connecticut that would provide an expanded and innovative menu of transportation options for individuals who are not only enrolled in a training program, but also those who are employed. We know this is a big issue, again, not only for people who are seeking training, but also those who are in work and are struggling to get to work. So our goal is to really develop a fund in partnership with the business community and with the philanthropy community to kind of stretch the dollars a little further. But the goal here is really to help supplement the work that we all are doing on sort of short-term training provision, but also, again, around people who are in employment. So there will be sort of a transportation working group. We are, anyone who is interested in participating in that, please reach out. We will be sharing more information on that as we have more details to share, but that's one of the near-term goals of the council when it comes to transportation.
Thank you. That's really encouraging.
I wanted to call on Earl Bloodworth.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. And that was also a great observation to point out there, Ms. Walker. Around transportation, particularly for the reentry population, a lot of the times with folks, they're getting jobs where, you know, they're working after hours with no transportation, where, you know, the bus might not go. So figuring out some alternative means of travel, or, you know, credits that could go towards Lyft and Uber and stuff like that. I think those are some innovative ideas to come to fruition. But in regards to some of the items that were talked about earlier on with some of the people from the panel, just want to make sure when we're talking about these certificate programs and, you know, different things that are going to provide people upward mobility and access to a livable, sustainable wage. And we're talking about the reentry population. Many of the folks who are seeking a second chance never actually had a first chance. We want to make sure that, you know, we're talking about that in our DEI committee, eliminating some of those barriers and obstacles. So we don't want it. Two things that are majorly that need to be pointed out. One, we want people to have access to those certificates. And that type of education, whether it's vocational or opportunities for entrepreneurship. But we also, if we're going to get these people trained, whether while they're still incarcerated or post-incarceration, we want to make sure that, you know, we really have these verifiable partnerships with these employers that are going to hire them. You know, I've met with some employers throughout the state, and a lot of these manufacturing employers, at least in that segment, they're kind of far out. So transportation is definitely an issue. But, you know, around healthcare, there's been some movement. There's some great work going on with the NAACP and the Millions Job Campaign. But, you know, we want to make sure that, just for lack of a better term, we want to make sure that people are really being held accountable to what they're agreeing to and what they're saying they're going to do when it comes to this population and hiring folks. You don't really don't want lip service.
Earl, thank you very much for your comments and your leadership on the DEI committee. Betty Sugarman-Weintraub.
Thank you. I'd just like to jump on the bandwagon about the transportation. It's an area that we have been looking at with not only the 2Gen Advisory Board, it's a focus for the workforce subgroup there, as well as for the what's now called the Access to Employment Committee. So looking at the full spectrum of transportation needs, which includes some of the things that were brought up by our previous two speakers, which have to do with not just the CT pass, but also Lyft and Uber, van pools by employers, affordable cars and affordable loans to get cars. There are a lot of different options that are out there. And I think that we've been talking to Niall about it, and we want to continue to push this forward in a collaborative effort where we have many stakeholders that are interested in this issue and pushing it forward.
Thank you. Other comments? If none, I'm going to be happy to kind of, you know, just wrap up this meeting. We today kind of heard really great news about kind of the opportunities for people to receive free training, supportive services, and to be placed into jobs. And we believe there are thousands of jobs out there that people can be placed into. which is really, really exciting. We also have heard that recruiting people into these programs is going to be a major challenge, that people face real barriers, whether those be childcare, transportation, the potential of losing benefits, still concerns, obviously, regarding health and safety. And so we are very committed as the Governor's Workforce Council and the Office of Workforce Strategy in terms of working on those issues, partnering with our partners in the business community and state government and in the nonprofit community to address these issues. These are not easy problems to solve, these barriers, but we are going to be working on that. There's actually, we didn't get a chance to have a breakout session today with the 2Gen Council, which we will, but there's some fantastic work that the 2Gen Council has done with regard to benefit cliffs in piloting a tool from the Atlanta Fed, but also there's some really significant senior level discussions going on across other states in the region and even with federal partners about looking at some pretty significant kind of opportunities on the benefit cliff side, such as potentially even kind of having a kind of time period whereby we would suspend benefit cliff and thereby kind of remove barriers from people getting back to work. So I'm just going to mention this is a work in process. We're going to be working hard on these issues, as all of our partners on this call are working very hard on building out the Career Connect programs. I want to thank the leaders across here, the workforce, regional workforce board leads, the business community, the many nonprofits who are engaged with us and our government partners and our higher education and education partners who are all kind of collaborating on building out these programs. This is the biggest job training effort in many decades in the state. And it's not being done by any one group. It's being done with a lot of collaboration from a lot of organizations. So I want to thank everybody for their hard work to make these opportunities available for thousands of people in our state. Kelly, any kind of final words? You're on mute. Go ahead.
I just want to thank everybody for your time and for your commitment and your attention, not only to our meeting today, but the ongoing work that you do to support us week to week and month to month to move this agenda forward. This work is vital and we can't do it without the partnership of all of you, and it's greatly appreciated, and we look forward to our upcoming work together.
And I also want to do one more thank you. I want to thank our legislators who are here today and for your support in kind of addressing these issues, kind of both historically and in the current session. So we look forward to partnering with you. Thank you, everybody, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.